Good morning. I'm Steve Shannon, your announcer for today's Remembrance Day program. And on behalf of the 2023 Remembrance Day Citizens Committee, I welcome you to the services today. We are pleased to be at Sastel Center, where we as a community can pay respect to the sacrifice of all those who served our country, past and present. Wreaths have become an eternal symbol of Remembrance Day. Funds raised from the purchase of wreaths go to the Poppy Fund and is used to support veterans' causes. We are fortunate that every year, over 100 organizations and individuals in Saskatoon purchase wreaths both as a symbol of Remembrance Day and of their support to our veterans. We would like to thank all the organizations who have purchased wreaths, and their names are noted on the screen throughout the service. The service today is supported by two orchestral bands, the Saskatoon Wind Ensemble and the Salvation Army Band, along with the Magic City Chorus. The combined bands will play during the laying of the wreaths and throughout the active Remembrance Day service, accompanied by the chorus. Our musical groups are led by musical director Peter England, Nick Fanner, director of the Saskatoon Community Wind Ensemble, Vienna Sawatsky, director of the Salvation Army Band, Cheryl Pierce, director of the Magic City Chorus, North Saskatchewan Regiment Pipes and Drums, Pipe Major Craig Shirley, and Saskatoon Tri-City Cadet Band, Lieutenant Haley McCrae. Once again, we welcome you to our service this morning. I'm Steve Shannon, your announcer, and I would like to welcome those joining us from home on TV or live streamed to the 2023 Remembrance Day Service here at SaskTel Center. The 2023 Remembrance Day Parade is commanded by Lieutenant Commander Mike Sue. The Parade Deputy Commander is Lieutenant Commander Nick Teen, and the Parade Sergeant Major is Chief Petty Officer Dan Connolly of the HMCS Unicorn. The parade will pay compliments to 3 veterans representing each of the military units and anniversaries being commemorated today. Chief Petty Officer retired Jim Dockstetter, who served on HMCS Unicorn and HMCS Cayuga during the Korean War representing the Royal Canadian Navy, and later was coxswain of HMCS Unicorn. Sergeant retired Ernie Fast of the RCMP, our most senior RCMP veteran here today, representing the RCMP's role in the Canadian military and other missions around the world on UN, NATO, and bilateral missions. Warrant Officer retired Ed Dagenet, former member of Princess Patricia Light Infantry and North Saskatchewan Regiment, representing veterans of the Battle of Medak Pocket 30 years ago in the former Yugoslavia, Croatia. I now direct your attention to the 2 interviews related to today's service, first with CPO Dockstetter and the second with serving member Sergeant Mitch Mercer of the RCMP, who has served on multiple deployments overseas and who will be highlighted as the military service of the RCMP in their 150th year history.
My name is Jim Dockstetter. I retired in 1977 from the Reserve Navy as a Chief Warrant Officer. I did short trainings in both the Air Cadets and the Sea Cadets, and I think I just decided I wanted to go to sea. So I joined the Navy. Yeah. I first joined the regular force Navy in April of 1949. I did my new entry training in Cornwallis, Nova Scotia. And then after that I went to Stadacona in Halifax to be a communicator. And I discovered that was not my life. So I transferred back to the Seaman branch and was drafted back to the West Coast, where I served on HMCS Ontario, which is a cruiser. I was very comfortable at sea, and I enjoyed the life. By June of 1950, I was drafted to HMCS Cayuga, a tribal class destroyer, and we were on July the 5th of 50, we were headed to Korea. We stopped in Japan Hawaii for a while, and then went to Kwajalein, Guam, and then on to Sasebo, Japan. And our operations operated out of Sasebo, Japan. There's about 220 of us on the Cayuga. We were plane guard for aircraft carriers, and bombardment of shore installations, and just general service for most of the time. Well, I was on the guns, mainly the 4-inch gun and the 40-millimeter Beaufort. For aircraft action was a Beaufort, and for land action was a 4-inch turret on the quarterdeck of the Ontario or the Cayuga. The main one we had involved in was Shinam Po, and 5th of December 1950, where the Chinese had entered the war, and were Americans and the UN forces were withdrawing, and we were sent in there to destroy the equipment left on jetty on the beach, you know. And that was quite an evolution. Well, it was night on December the 5th, and we had no charts or anything, but our navigator was a real good person, and with radar and the rest, we got up the channel. It was a very concerning night in the dark. I spent that night sitting on X gun, a 4-inch on the quarterdeck. As a matter of fact, there was one mission, our sonar, ASDIC at that time, we called sonar now, operator picked up a minefield and we made a hard right starboard turn and just missed mines. We went back and surveyed the system and we missed it by very few feet. We were very lucky. He got mentioned in dispatches for that. We were under small arms fire one time, but nothing hit us. Later on, I think it was the Huron, was hit by a missile and they lost 4 men. It hit B gun turret and hit right onto a shell and exploded. Incheon Harbor was always interesting to go into. That's where all the services were, and that's where the major invasion was when we decided to invade the southern part of Korea. In the invasion, there was all kinds of landing craft and all kinds of ships activities. When I come home from today, and I did training there and come out as a sonar TAS operator, TD, torpedo anti-submarine. Sonar is the detection of submarines and the capability to fire on those submarines with depth charges mainly we use. I left the regular Navy in 1954 and joined the reserves in Unicorn as a leading seaman. I did new entry training for quite a few years for the new people coming in. That's about it. And for the first few years, then when I became a senior, became a petty officer. I retired from Unicorn as a coxswain in 1977. The coxswain is the person medium between the lower decks and the commanding, the whole Korean War. Well, it was originally called a police action, but it was not. It was a war, and there was 512 Canadians killed in that, during that war. In Shinampo, we lost a man, fell over, hit with a passing ship. It's the real part of the history of the world, and the Canadians that served in the wars, both the First World War, Second World War, Korean War, and all other activities since. As a veteran, I think it's important that people should understand the activities of the service and the reason for them. It's important to remember the people that fought in those wars and why they fought, and remember the ones that are no longer with us.
I'm Sergeant Mitch Mercier of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, currently posted to National Headquarters with the National Public Order Program. I joined in 1997 and my first posting was up in Port McNeill, British Columbia on the northern tip of Vancouver Island. I would jokingly say I had more killer whales than people. It was a small isolated post. I got to do Indigenous policing where I learned a lot working from there. From there, I moved to Golden, BC, which was near Banff, and I policed again there for 4 years. In 2005, I went to RCMP Depot, where I was a facilitator. I instructed in applied police sciences, which would be the academic portion of it. Then I went to police defensive tactics and followed up with firearms training unit. While in Regina, I was fortunate enough to have a year-long mission to Afghanistan in 2011-2012. I went to the province of Bamyan, where the Buddhas were, which the Taliban destroyed in May of 2001. From there, I was working with the New Zealand Police and New Zealand Army, mentoring and advising the local police there. When I returned, I went back to the academy, RCMP Academy, where I continued to instruct cadets. In 2016, I moved to Cranbrook, BC, where I was a watch commander. While there, I put my name in again for another overseas deployment, and this time I went a year long into Ukraine. In 2000, I transferred to Ottawa, where I worked with our National Use of Force. In May 1873, the RCMP was formed, and we did March West. Later on in the century, the Second Boer War, they called for volunteers. While there, they served with distinction, and the Northwest Mounted Police, as it was known at the time, received the significant Royal. The King granted that to us, so it became the Royal Northwest Mounted Police. When World War I broke out, a number of volunteers again went overseas as part of the Canadian contingent, and the A Squadron of the Royal Northwest Mounted Police were part of the Canadian Expeditionary Force. Near the end of World War I, we also sent another squadron out to Siberia. In World War II, 5 days after war was declared, the RCMP at that time, we became First Provo Corps RCMP, and we served with distinction as military police during the campaign in both Italy and up in Northwest Europe as well. During World War II, we had approximately 300 members who became part of the Royal Canadian Navy, and then we also had members of the Royal Canadian Air Force. The RCMP we are currently in 9 countries right now with 47 personnel overseas. In the past, we had 47 countries and just over 45,000 members who have served overseas. In Afghanistan, we were mentoring and advising the local police, Afghan National Police, working on stabilization and also advancing Canadian policy, for example, gender-based analysis for females there. I was part of the team that helped stabilize Bamyan, and I always remember when I was flying out and leaving, I saw two girls holding hands as they walked to school. So we stabilized the country that allowed the 2 young girls to go to school. So that was a positive feeling on that. It was kinetic. I was, again, like I mentioned earlier, we were working with the New Zealand Defence Force and the New Zealand National Police, and unfortunately, we were there. There was 5 soldiers that were killed in battle, and also with an IED explosion. So every Remembrance Day, I always remember those members that I worked with from another Commonwealth country. In 2017, I was fortunate enough to go to Ukraine under a different mandate. This was a capacity building for the police, trying to establish a more robust police force that they have there. And my specialty at that time was scenario-based training. So we would put the instructors in through various scenarios so they could be able to instruct their police officers on a Western style of policing as opposed to a top-down style policing. And again, we would advance Canadian values that would enable them to build a more robust, modern police force.
Being selected to be a member of the Cenotaph Guard each year is an honored position. This year, in respect of the 100th anniversary of the Royal Canadian Navy Volunteer, each of the members of the Guard, regardless of the uniform they wear, have a connection to the Royal Canadian Navy and HMCS Unicorn. Master Sailor Mitchell Bone, born in Saskatoon, he joined the Royal Canadian Navy in September of 2009 as a Marine Systems Engineering Operator. He is currently the Unicorn Senior Engineer. This is Master Sailor Bone's first time as Cenotaph Guard Commander. Corporal Angeline Abesco is born in Lucena City in the Philippines. Joined the Canadian Army in 2018 as a cook. Originally from the 38th Service Battalion, she is currently one of the HMCS Unicorn's recruiters. This is Corporal Abasco's first parade as a Saskatoon Cenotaph Guard representative. Corporal Christopher Burkhardt volunteers with the Air Cadets at HMCS Unicorn. Joined the Royal Canadian Air Force in October of 2015 as an aerospace telecommunications and information systems technician. He is currently posted to the 17 Wing Detachment of Dundurn and has secured networking and radio communications technician. This year will be Corporal Burkhardt's third year as the Air Force Cenotaph Guard with the Saskatoon Remembrance Day Parade. Constable Tony Curdy, born in Winnipeg, Manitoba, he grew up in Saskatoon. He joined the Royal Canadian Navy at HMCS Unicorn in 1984, was a finance and administrative clerk. He left the Royal Canadian Navy in 2003 to join the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and has been with them since. This is Corporal Curdy's first parade as a Cenotaph Guard representative. Sailor Third Class Peter Fair. Born in Saskatoon, Sailor Fair joined the Royal Canadian Navy in January of 2016 as a Marine technician, currently a Unicorn engineer. This is Sailor Fair's first year with the Cenotaph Guard. Chief Petty Officer Dan Connolly is now calling for the markers. Chief Petty Officer Connolly joined the Royal Canadian Navy in 2002 as a boatswain. He transferred from the regular force to the Naval Reserve in 2023 and is the coxswain of the Unicorn, the most senior non-commissioned member of operations, with deployments in the Persian Gulf. Operation Neon, enforcing embargo to North Korea, and Operation Carib, conducting drug interactions and the missions with the Caribbean Sea, along with his deployment.
Marker numbers. 1, 2, 3. Number 1, stand fast. Remainder, about, turn. Number 1, stand fast. Remainder, quick, march. Number 1, stand fast. Remainder, about, turn. Number 2, touch back. Steady. Touch forward. Steady. Markers, steady. 2023 Remembrance Day Parade. March on the New Guard and Protective Services. Avast. 2023 Remembrance Day Parade. March on the Cadets and Service Clubs.
Ladies and gentlemen, the cadets and service groups led by the Tri-Service Cadet Band, Jarvis Bay Sea Cadets. .328 Medical Corps Army Cadets. .2293 North Saskatchewan Regiment Cadets. .107 Air Cadets. .702 Air Cadets. The Navy League. Also members of the Elks, Masons, Shriners, and Knights of Columbus.
Cadets and Tri-Service Band leading. March on the New Guard and Protective Services.
Ladies and gentlemen, the New Guard and Protective Services. Consisting of HMCS Unicorn, the North Saskatchewan Regiment, 16 Medical Company, members of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, Saskatoon Police Service, Saskatoon Fire Department, Corrections Services of Canada, and Provincial Corrections.
Parade! Advance left! Parade! Shoulder dressing, right dress.
Joined the Naval Reserve in 2000. He's a qualified Marine surface and subsurface officer, having served on the Kingston fleet for much of his career. He spent a total of 7 years with the fleet on 3 of Canada's principal warships. Post 9/11, he joined the Port Security Section, responsible for both port and vessel security.
Steady. Parade, eyes front. Parade, stand easy. "2023 Remembrance Day Parade, stand at ease. Parade, attention. Officers, fall in."
Lieutenant Commander Teen is now calling for the fall-in of the officers. Lieutenant Commander Teen will now turn the parade over to Lieutenant Commander Sue. Lieutenant Commander Michael Sue joined the Royal Canadian Navy and the HMCS Unicorn in March of 2001 and began training as a naval warfare officer. He received his bridge for the watch of keeping the certificate of the Kingston-class ships on 5 November of 2003 on the HMCS Summerside. He served both East and West coasts and in many roles at sea in 5 different Kingston-class ships. In leadership and staff roles ashore as an instructor for basic officer training and naval warfare officers. The highlight of his career was conducting search and rescue operations near Port.
March on the old guard.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the arrival of the Old Guard Regiment, pipes and drums. Ladies and gentlemen, the Old Guard, consisting of Canadian Forces veterans, Allied Nations veterans, and RCMP veterans.
Old guard, advance. Left. Turn. Old guard. Elbow dressing. Right. Dress. Old guard, eyes. Front. Flag party, march on the flags. Parade to the flags. Salute. Parade, shoulder, arms.
Lieutenant Commander Sue will now turn the parade over to this year's officiating clergy, Captain Ivan Nahachewski, MSM, the Padre of the North Saskatchewan Regiment.
Please be seated. Here we are, gathered together in person at the wonderful Saskatoon SaskTel Center. But we, the 6,000 plus who are seated here, are not alone. We are joined by many viewers. Thank all of you for your participation in our 2023 Remembrance Day Service.
Today we are pleased to be joined by Honorary Colonel Lorena McKennett, RCAF, who will sing O Canada. Lorena is an internationally recognized singer and vocalist and musician. She has actively supported the Canadian military since 2006 and is a member of the Royal Canadian Legion in Stratford, Ontario, where she resides and normally participates in her Community for Remembrance Day services. She is in Saskatoon this year on November the 11th as part of her national tour and will now sing O Canada, accompanied by the Magic City Chorus.
I now invite you all to stand, if you are able, for the national anthem.
True
Please be seated. Bienvenue. Tansei, Vitayamo. Welcome. We stand here on Treaty 6 territory and land of the Métis. My name is Padre Ivan Nahachowski, and I am the officiator for the Act of Remembrance today. It is my pleasure to represent the multitude of volunteers who spend many hours to organize this event, in which we remember and honor those who served and those who serve our beautiful country. Please be respectful of the diversity which exists among us. We, your spiritual leaders for today, represent a multi-faith reality of Canada and by extension of Saskatoon. Military chaplaincy was once all Christian, divided into two separate branches, the Catholic and the Protestant. Now, in the Canadian Armed Forces, chaplains of many world religions work together in one chaplaincy branch. Although we represent different belief systems, we stand in solidarity with each other and we serve all. Even those who reject religion of every sort in favor of a personal spirituality. Our intention is to demonstrate harmony and tolerance and ability to respect one another's beliefs. We will respect you and your decision today to join us according to your own individual beliefs and conscience. You will notice the absence of a rabbi today. Saturday is the Sabbath, so he's excused. But despite his absence, he is still considered part of the team. Next, we will hear from the Salvation Army Band and Magic City Chorus for the hymn of remembrance, God of Our Fathers. Veterans from World War I who celebrate 100 years of service. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police, who celebrate 150 years of service, and those from the Canadian Armed Forces who recognize the Battle of Madec Pocket, a battle that is emblematic of the UN and NATO missions in former Yugoslavia. We often focus on soldiers who died in battle, and it is fitting to do so, for they gave their lives for our freedom. We often focus on soldiers who are wounded in battle, lost limbs or an eye, bullet wounds or shrapnel, and it is fitting to do so because they sacrificed much to support the mission. We often focus on soldiers who have sustained the invisible wounds, post-traumatic stress disorders, operational stress injury, moral injury, and it is fitting to do so because their sacrifices are no less debilitating. But today, I wish to focus on soldiers who are healthy and well, those who are uninjured or managing their injuries so as to contribute to continue to serve either in the military or in the civilian realm. Many wonderful contributors to our community. Many are just great guys and gals being themselves and living the good life. They deserve the spotlight. Going about their business, keeping fit, studying, raising a family, working their jobs, training in the military. They are my heroes. And so are all the veterans out there in the stands. We want to publicly acknowledge you. You need the spotlight too. You are important to us, and we need you. I ask you veterans out there, if you so wish, to please stand up and be recognized. Stand up and be appreciated. If you are husbands or wives, sons or daughters, mothers or fathers of a veteran, then you too stand up and take a bow. You are doing your part. You are making sacrifices. You too deserve our gratitude. Ladies and gentlemen, once more, please acknowledge them with your generous applause. I now call on Reverend Peter Coolin, Chaplain of the Royal Canadian Legion number 78, to lead us in a reading from Hebrew Scripture.
A reading from the book of the prophet Micah. In the days to come, the mountain of the Lord's temple is the highest of the mountains, and shall be raised up above the hills. People shall stream to it, and many nations shall come and say, "Come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, that he may teach us his ways, and that we may walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth instruction, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. He shall judge between many peoples, and shall arbitrate between strong nations far away. They shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. But they shall all sit under their own vines and under their own fig trees, and no one shall make them afraid. For the mouth of the Lord of hosts has spoken. the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. We will remember them. Please be seated.
Easy. Stand easy.
I now call upon Master Warrant Officer Robert Brown, Indigenous Advisor to the Commander of the Canadian Army, to lead the prayer for country.
With respect to the many traditions present, I invite you, as you're comfortable in a time of prayer or quiet contemplation, is your place of peace, unity, and compassion. Help us to care for one another and for the protection of the environment. Bless all those who call Canada home. And may your love and grace be with us always. I ask that you keep everyone's home fire burning bright and warm. Bless all the soldiers and families and bring over them protection. Remember with gratitude and pride those who served and gave their lives for our country in a time of war and conflict. We pray for the families who lost loved ones and for the veterans who bear the physical and emotional scars of their service. May we never forget their sacrifice, and may their memories inspire us to work for peace in this world. In your name we pray, amen. Kananaskomatin. Thanks, I am grateful. Thank you.
I now call upon Representative Mandeep Singh Sethi of the Sikh Society of Saskatchewan for a prayer on world peace.
Thank you. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Good morning to all present today on the occasion of Remembrance Day. As we gather here to remember and honor those who First Nation and Métis ancestors to this place and reform our relationship with one another. I feel humble and proud to represent the Sikh community today, unity and universal brotherhood. The Guru Granth Sahib, the holy book of Sikhism, promotes the idea of world peace. It emphasizes the interconnected nature of the world and reminds us that we all are part of the same creation. Very well-known fact is that the teachings compiled in the Holy Book of Sikhs is addressed to all human beings and not to any community or any sect. The eternal message is addressed to the welfare of human beings above and beyond caste, color, creed, culture, and religion. The teachings in Sikhism gives the message of universal brotherhood and world peace. Today on Remembrance Day, we gather to honor and remember the sacrifice made by the brave men and women who served in the armed forces, defending the value of freedom, justice, and peace. As members of Sikh community, we also join in this occasion to pay our respect and acknowledge the contribution of soldiers who have served in various conflicts throughout the history. Thank you, and may we all strive to carry forward the value of unity, service, selflessness that our soldiers have exemplified throughout the history. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Thank you.
I now call to the podium Reverend Alex Parsons, Chaplain of the Royal Canadian Legion 360.
Look with pity, O Heavenly Father, upon those in this world who live with injustice, terror, disease, and death as their constant companions, wherever they may be. We remember before you the homeless, the destitute, the sick, the aged, and all who have no one to care for them. Heal those who are broken in body or spirit, and turn their sorrow into joy. Provide peace and hope to those who are suffering. Show them that you are there, and you care for them, and that you will make all things right. Strengthen those who seek equality for all of us. And have mercy upon us, guiding us in your wisdom to know that it is wrong, what is wrong and what is right, eliminating cruelty wherever it is found. Help us, Lord, source of all goodness in your creation, to live and pray and strive for a world full of love and compassion, a world that reaches out to those who suffer, so that all may have life abundantly, just as you intended. Amen.
I now call upon Imam Ibrahim Ali, Islamic Association of Saskatchewan, to pray for hope.
Thank you all. O Allah, our God and our Creator, accept us and strengthen what's broken in us. Revive whatever peace and hope has died in us. Give us the strength to smile when we are sad, to remain calm when we are stressed, to have faith in you when we lose hope. Bless us with a heart and soul that entirely depend on you, and protect us when we fall, hear us when we call. Thanks, appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, today's official wreaths are being laid by Silver Cross family representative, Ms. Victoria Bork, daughter of Sergeant Chris Bork, who served on United Nations missions in the former Yugoslavia and in Afghanistan. Our thoughts are with Ladies and gentlemen, laying the wreath on behalf of all veterans is Flight Lieutenant retired Stan Hodgins. Stan is our oldest veteran on parade today, at age 101. He is a veteran of the Royal Canadian Air Force in World War II, and he initially was part of the crews that flew in the anti-submarine patrols on the east coast of Canada, but later transferred to the Far East Burma Theater of Operations with the 436 Squadron as a navigator. Thank you, Stan Hodgins, for your participation today. We also thank Ms. Victoria Bork for laying her wreath in memory of her dad, and representing the Government of Canada, MP Kevin Wynne, MLA Gord Wyatt. Laying a wreath on behalf of the City of Saskatoon, His Worship Mayor Charlie Clark. Indigenous, Métis, and Inuit veterans, Captain Rod Dignay, veteran of Afghanistan. Royal Canadian Mounted Police veterans, Terry Drover. Ship's Company HMCS Commander Matt Delzell. North Saskatchewan Regiment, Captain Trent Gervais. Veterans Affairs, Canada, Aaron Thompson. Also laying wreaths today, representative of the Legions. Royal Canadian Legion Spadina Branch number 63, President Rod Holowati. Royal Canadian Legion, Nutana Branch 362, President Bill Flair. Royal Canadian Legion TVS Branch number 78, President Marguerite Wolfe. Army, Navy, and Air Force Veterans Association Unit number 38, President Al Boyce. Army, Navy, and Air Force Veterans Association Maple Leaf Unit, Eva Skunberg.
For the fallen, there are places for us to remember, honor, and mourn them. Memorials, cenotaphs, and monuments. Carved into the stone and steel of these memorials are their names, deeds, and the places they fought. For the wounded, their battles are carved into their bodies, minds, and spirits. Each morning they rise to face the challenges of the day with what war has left them. They are the embodiment of sacrifice, and as such, it is right to honor them. There are those that bear the scars of war, ones we see and ones we do not. We commemorate them, and we have a duty to honor their sacrifice.
And now I call upon Colonel retired Malcolm Young to read In Flanders Field.
Early in the First World War, in April of 1915, Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae, a Canadian medical officer, witnessed firsthand the horrific nature of both trench and chemical warfare. After 17 continuous surgery and treating the wounded, one early morning, the day after he had buried a very close friend who died in battle the day before, McCrae sat in the back of a field ambulance just outside his hospital. He looked and he listened to the sounds around him and composed what has become one of the most well-known war poems, not only in Canada, but around the globe. It is recited every November 11th across our country, but not just here, Commonwealth countries, other countries in Europe. It has become an eternal monument to John McCrae's witness to war and his passion to remember. If you listen closely to his words, you can get a true sense of both what John McCrae saw and heard, but also the anguish and the frustration that he felt for the death of his friend and all those newly buried around him in graves amongst the poppies. While in Flanders Fields it focuses on the impact of one battle and one war, it's come to exemplify the realities of all conflicts, whether in war or in peace, on the land, in the air, or on the sea, since 1915. You will see from the program that beside me is the ship's bell of the HMCS Saskatoon, the first vessel so named for our city, a corvette that served during the Battle of the Atlantic on convoy escort against German submarines. In the Canadian fleet, there were 434 warships. The HMCS Saskatoon was one of 24 of those vessels connected to our province. She and her crew survived the war. Early each year in May, the Battle of the Atlantic ceremony, ship's bells are rung across Canada. The names of the warships destroyed are read out. As this is the 100th anniversary of the Royal Canadian Naval Reserve, it is fitting that we ring the ship's bell in Saskatoon to commemorate the ships and the sailors from Saskatchewan who paid the ultimate sacrifice. We also recognize, however, Canadian Forces members who have died in service since we last met November 11th of 2022. From the past, we commemorate the over 100 sailors from Saskatchewan who died in service. We honor the crews of the two ships connected to Saskatchewan that were destroyed in battle. HMCS Regina, HMCS Weyburn. We commemorate the present, and we honor two fellow Canadians and Canadian Forces officers who died in the service of our country, Captain David Delamog and Captain Marc Laroche, both of 450 Squadron, Royal Canadian Air Force. We will remember them. In Flanders Fields, the poppies blow. Between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you with fleeting hands we throw, the torch be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Fields.
Will now lead us in the final hymn, O God, our help in ages past.
Shelter from
Since the parade is commanded by the Navy this year, I chose a benediction to be a maritime blessing. May a gentle breeze forever fill your sails. May sunshine warm your face. May kindness warm your soul. Until we meet again, may God bless you and keep you safe. Thank you to all who attended today's service, either by being present here or by watching Shaw Cable or on live stream. I now call upon Honorary Colonel McKennett and Magic City Chorus and the combined bands to lead us in God Save the King. Please stand if you are able.
Attention!
God save our gracious King, long live our noble King. God save our King. Center victorious, happy and glorious, come to reign over us. God save our King.
Captain Dachowski will now turn the parade back to Lieutenant Commander Sue. Ladies and gentlemen, our distinguished three veterans will now take the salute from the parade. Chief Petty Officer Jim Dockstader, Sergeant Ernie Fast, and
Parade! To the reviewing officer. Shoulder! Arms! Remainers stand fast. Old Guard will march past. Flag party leading. Old Guard, move to the right in column route. Right! Turn! Old Guard, bar the right, quick, march. In succession of use, eyes, right.
ladies and gentlemen, please show your appreciation to the Old Guard, Canadian Forces veterans, Allied Nations veterans, and veterans of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
In succession of use, eyes, front.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Old Guard.
2023 Remembrance Day Parade will march past in column of route. Move to the right in column of route. Right. Turn. Parade, in succession by units. Quick, march.
Ladies and gentlemen, the New Guard and Protective Services.
Parade, in succession by units. Eyes, right.
HMCS Unicorn.
Parade, in succession by units. Eyes, front.
North Saskatchewan Regiment. 16 Medical Company. Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Saskatoon Police Service. Saskatoon Fire Department. Corrections Service of Canada. Corrections. Followed by our cadets. Jarvis Bay Sea Cadets. 328 Medical Corps Army Cadets. 2293 North Saskatchewan Regiment Cadets. (107) Air Cadets. (702) Air Cadets. And the Navy League. Followed by our service. Community service with our city of Saskatoon. Ladies and gentlemen, our Cenotaph Guard.
Cenotaph Guard, present. Shoulder, arms. Inwards, turn. Cenotaph Guard, fall out. Cenotaph Guard, quick, march.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of our veterans, current serving military, and the 2023 Remembrance Day Committee, we would like to thank all those citizens in attendance today and all viewing on television and also live streaming. We would especially like to thank the Saskatoon Community Wind Ensemble, Salvation Army Band, Magic City Chorus, the North Saskatchewan Regiment Pipes and Drums, Saskatoon Tri-City Service Cadet Band, Pipe Major Brad Fenty, Captain Aaron Vopney, Shaw Spotlight, Sastel Center, and our special guest, Honorary Colonel Lorena McKemmett, Royal Canadian Air Force, for participating today. We hope you will be back here next year, 2024, for the 93rd Saskatoon Remembrance Day Service. The North Saskatchewan Regiment Pipes and Drums will play a short set at the center of Sastel Center in just a moment. Thank you again, and have a great Remembrance Day.